Hello there, Grateful Gang. It's Lauren Blanchard-Zaleski here. Welcome to Gratefully Living the Chronic Life this August, what is it, the 12th today, August 12th, 2021. I have an awesome guest to share with you guys tonight, who I'm very excited about. Her name is Lacy Mucklow. She is a board-certified art therapist and New York Times best-selling author. I cannot wait to have her on. We'll be giving away a copy of one of her free books. She has many books, but one of her free I shouldn't say it's a free book. I'm giving away a free copy of her book tonight that she's going to autograph for one lucky winner. So I hope you stick around and enter to win. I come every Thursday night at this time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I reach out to everybody to talk about gratitude and things that we can do to make our lives just a little bit easier to live emotionally. What's the word I'm looking for? Getting rid of some of our emotional pain with anxiety, stress. We talk a lot about chronic pain and illness. I run a group here on Facebook called Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. Made this lovely graphic a while back. So if you're not a member of the group, we'd love to have you join us. We have this about 6,200 members of the group, and it's all people that live with some kind of a chronic condition, emotional, physical, or both. And we focus a lot on the practice of gratitude and mindfulness, journaling, all sorts of tools to help us with positive psychology and living our best lives rather than being stuck in the problem. I often say that it's a solution-based group, and rather than being stuck in the problem and just complaining all day long. So we would love to have you be a member, Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. You can also find out more about me on my website, which is gratitudeaddict.com. You can find out more about the group, upcoming episodes of this broadcast, and anything else I have going on. I have a book coming out in November, which is the 5-Minute Gratitude Journal for Teen Boys, and then a couple more books to follow next year. So a lot going on. I'd like to thank last week's guest. We had Jory Rose on the show. She was a really fantastic guest, and she wrote this book, A Year of Gratitude. And Deb Hubert was the winner of the free copy. So that is going out to you soon, Deb. Hopefully, her autograph copy is on its way to me. So hopefully within the next few weeks, you should get that. So congratulations. Next week, I'm off. I'm actually going to be on vacation with the family, which I'm super excited about. But in 2 weeks, I have another special guest joining us. Her name is Lisa Waldman. She's a behavior coach, and she's going to be talking about building the readiness for change. And she is a sorority sister of mine from back in our days at the University of Rhode Island. So she has a new book out, has just unrolled a new website. So I'm excited to have her join us. But I want to bring on tonight's guest because I know the hour, as always, is going to be going very, very fast. So let's bring her on. Lacy Mucklow. Hey, Lacy.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I haven't done this before, but I have, besides the book that we're giving away, I have another little prize I want to give out to you guys. I got these Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain sticky notes. Where are they? Okay, here they are. They say, today I am grateful for. So this is for those of you, and one of my moderators is not eligible to win this. I am going to have you guys guess, how did I find Lacy? Anybody who watches my broadcast knows how I usually find my guest. The first person to type in with how I found Lacy gets a free sticky note of Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. But anyway, Lacy, thank you for being here. She is a board certified art therapist, which we haven't had an artist on the show before. We've talked about creativity, we've talked about journaling, but actual art we haven't. And you are quite the accomplished person when it comes to dealing with emotional, physical pain and dealing with art. How did you get started in this whole field?
It's kind of interesting. It really started in middle school because I wanted to become a psychologist. I decided because all my friends always came to me with all their problems. So I thought it might be nice to get paid for doing something I was already doing. So that's what I wanted to do. And I know that being an adolescent, there's a lot of angst that goes on, but it doesn't always have to be that way. So I thought it might be nice to, when I got to be in my career, to help other adolescents at that point or people in life deal with difficult phases of life. So I thought, we had a psychology and sociology class offered at my high school. So I took it my senior year to see if that was indeed what I wanted to major in. And I loved the class, and I knew that was something I wanted to do. One of the things that happened in that class was she was showing videos about people who had schizophrenia, and I believe who had some dissociative disorders. And it wasn't about art therapy per se, but they showed art that they had done when they said it was very difficult to talk about what was going on in their mind, very difficult to express their feelings or what they were thinking effectively, but the art seemed to help them communicate better. Well, I'd always done art my whole life. That was just something I enjoyed. I took classes in school, I took classes in the community, just did stuff on my own, just for my own hobby, really. I didn't want to make a career out of it or anything.
Did you consider yourself artistic, or did you enjoy, were you good at it, or did you just enjoy it, or both?
Yeah, I was decent at it. You know, I was probably better than some people, but there were definitely other people who were better than I was, especially depending on the medium. But, you know, you kind of figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you. People tend to have media that they work better in. But I did try a lot of different media, you know, and figured out also how to apply them correctly. That always helps a lot when you have a good teacher to show you how to use them properly. So it was just something fun that I liked to do, but I didn't plan to do anything with it, you know, as far as a career went. So when I found out about that, I was like, well, I already want to do psychology, but I already do art. So I wonder if there's a way to bring that into being a psychologist, being a therapist. So as I went into college, I talked to the psychology department, I talked to the art department, and I said, okay, this is what I want to do. How do I become an art therapist? And they were like, we have really no idea. It wasn't a totally new field. It'd probably been around about maybe 20 to 25 years at that point, but it was still pretty new and a lot of people didn't know about it. So we kind of guessed at what would be my best track. I knew I'd have to do grad school regardless. So I decided to major in psychology and minor in studio art. They recommended that I would major in one and minor in the other, or double major in both. So I decided psychology would be the better foundation. So I did that for my major and art is my minor, which worked out very well. And I was accepted into 2 art therapy master's programs.
Wow.
And I picked one and it all worked out and got my master's and jumped into the field. And here I am.
I bet it's got to be such an interesting field. I mean, I just about 10 minutes ago, gang, I found an article of Lacy's. She just wrote something for, is it Coping magazine, for people that live with cancer, about art therapy and how it helps people to cope with cancer. And I was telling her before the broadcast that it's a lot of the stuff I wanted to talk about tonight, which is art and healing. I meant to hold up. I never did get to read your bio. I just jumped right into it. But Lacy has a million books. She's a New York Times bestselling author. This is the one that I had, and I'm looking. I don't see anybody that got the answer right. You guys are thinking, oh, wait, Pamela Creighton, you got it. Yes, I stalked her. That's how I find my pets. I stalk them. Pamela Creighton, I will send you this. I saw yours first. Thank you. Yes, I stalk my guests. So somebody had given me this as a gift a few years ago. It's this beautiful, beautiful coloring book called Color Me Grateful. And gosh, like I said, I've had it for, it must have been right when it came out, because it looks like it was published in 2017, right? And I hadn't looked at it in a while, and I just sort of stumbled across it a couple of weeks ago, and I've been back into art again myself lately. I've talked to Lacy about this. I've been delving back into doing watercolor art. And so I've been wanting to have somebody come on to talk about art and gratitude and therapy. And then I saw this, I looked up Lacy's bio. She was absolutely perfect. Stalked her, found her on LinkedIn, and the rest is history. This is the book we're giving away tonight. It's called Be Grateful and Color. And to be eligible to win, you need to, you need to write in #gratitude, and we'll draw the name at the end of the show. And if you have any questions, comments for Lacy during the broadcast, please feel free to have it in. You have to spell gratitude correctly. I noticed last week people did not, and it won't pick it up if you don't. So it's a beautiful, beautiful book. So you have a whole series of these. Be Brave, Keep Calm and Color. You've got Anxiety. Like, how did all your books come about?
That's really an interesting story. The wonders of the internet has been pretty amazing. What happened was, this was before the culling phenomenon actually had hit. I got an email in 2013 from an editor at Cordo Publishing, and I thought it might have been a hoax or something at first. But she found my art therapy blog, my website, and she said, we're looking for an author to have a therapeutically themed coloring book. Not just something to color, but something with some intention behind it. She said, we have 2 titles that we want to start with up front, which is Color Me Calm and Color Me Happy. And she said, then we'll just see how things go. We might do up to 5, but we'll just see. Are you interested? And I was like, well, I guess so. I don't know if I'm really who you're looking for, but she was looking through, I guess, things that I had posted and blogged about art being meditative, art being, helpful to express emotions, things like that. So apparently mindfulness, that kind of stuff. So apparently that was something that they were looking for. And they had already found an artist in Wales to do the artwork, but they wanted me to do the structure of the book. They wanted me to do the writing of the book. And I ended up
show you guys some of the illustrations that are in here. They're just beautiful, really intricate, beautiful adult coloring book. So this is the artist you found in Wales who did your books for you?
Yeah, they had found her already. They found her on DeviantArt. If you're familiar with that website, they found her, some of the things that she had posted, and they really liked her style. So they asked her if she would illustrate, and they asked if I would write. So I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. Why not? So Color Me Calm, I decided to divide. I think most of them are divided in 7 chapters. Some are 6 chapters, but I looked at themes that were things that help people calm themselves, or that are calming images for them. And for happy, I did likewise. What are some things that lift people up, that make them happy to think about? And so as we went through all of those things, I would send examples of things I wanted to be drawn to Angela, who did the artwork. And especially with the mandalas chapter, which is something that's a whole other ball game. But there's a great round of mandala. Yeah, there's a great round of mandala theory, which is it's really 13 stages, and it goes through different stages of human development, unconscious and conscious, different developmental or psychological stages with Freud and Erickson, to look at all kinds of stuff that they encompass, and they're really fascinating. So when we would do like the mandalas chapter that was in Color Me Calm, I wanted to have specific stages represented that would be empowering for people. So thankfully, Angela was a mandala person too, and she knew exactly how to go about doing those. So I'm like, I want these kind of qualities in the mandalas that you draw, and then the rest is up to you. Just Angelify it and do your thing. So it was a really nice collaboration. And so we did the first 2, and they came out right around the time or just after Johanna Basford's book had come out and really set things off. And there was that huge coloring book phenomenon, and they were selling out.
The Secret Garden coloring book?
The Secret Garden.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's true. I remember mm-hmm. I was running a Chronic Pain Anonymous meeting. This is back in like 2013, 14. Mm-hmm. Somebody brought this adult coloring book in, and I thought they were crazy. It may have been that Secret Garden book. I don't know. And then it just like exploded. Then I couldn't not hear about them everywhere. And they obviously have really done well. I mean, you're a New York Times best-selling author, and they're really beautiful books that you had. Nice quality books. Yeah,
thank you. I was glad with how they came out too. They're beautiful. They did a great job. And so it went not just with 5 titles, but with 6. And then after that, they asked me to do the art journal for kids and moms to do together, to help them use art to help them communicate more effectively with each other. So, and then the pandemic hit, and then they did the version of the one you're giving away. They came up with 4 more titles during the pandemic for people to have something to do.
One's out of print, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're already selling out of print.
Very much available. It's similar, right? A lot of the same drawings and things in it. Just this is the current version.
Right.
I was on your Amazon author page. It looks like some of these books were going for like $1,000.
Oh gosh, that's nice. Wow. Yeah, but they went fast, and it ended up being a really neat opportunity that I'm really glad I got to be a part of. And so we got to work together and give people something to find that might work for them to help them be mindful or relieve stress or something like that. Maybe just get back in touch with their inner child again, because I know a lot of people don't do much after elementary school. So it was just nice to be able to do. And I think another thing why it was really popular is it's analog. If you think about it, everything's technology related today, tablets, phones, computers, and everything. And I think people were ready for a change to get off the screen and to do something on pencil and paper. So
totally
that was
agree.
also very helpful.
Telling you before the broadcast, I use a paper planner with fountain pens. I'm finding for me, well, it helps my memory because I have memory issues, but also it's just very mindful. I had done, I wanted to show you guys today. I did one of these today. I was on a meeting that I didn't have to participate in. I just had to listen. And so this is one of the designs from Lacy's book. I did it with watercolor pencil, and then I used a brush to go over it. I am not, Lacy's not going to like me saying this, I don't consider myself an artistic person. I enjoy art. I love art. I have fun with art. And I really want to ask you about that. I have a feeling, and I want to get to some of your comments in a minute, gang, but a lot of us, I can't imagine that many people say they don't like art, but what if you don't consider yourself an artistic person? Like first of all, what are the benefits of art for therapy? How can it help us with our emotions? And then how can you do it if you don't consider yourself artistic? I mean, coloring books would be one for sure.
Yeah. If you don't consider yourself artistic, that doesn't have to be a barrier. I think you just have to be able to start with wherever you are and be in a place of acceptance of that. Art is very helpful, especially when we use it in art therapy proper, because it processes differently in the brain. When you do talk therapy, when we have verbalization, we have censorship. Our brain just tends to filter what we're going to say, how we're going to say it, what we don't say, that kind of thing. When we do art, it digs a lot deeper, much more quickly. And I call it, the backdoor approach, where a lot of things can be expressed that can't be expressed through verbal means. A lot of times people don't have words for an emotion, can't identify an emotion. When they're able to, that's right. When they're able to draw about it, then they have something to work with. They have we call art the third party in a session. When you're doing art therapy, it is part of the session. It's a record. It's something you can refer to if you need to. And it's easier to talk about a picture sometimes than it is to talk about a trauma, if that makes sense, or a difficult emotion or a hard experience. And that gives you a jumping off point to then process it some more. And it can be very effective in helping our brain process things, because doing art uses both sides of the brain. I know they kind of think about artsy things as being right brained, but you still have to use your left brain to do some of the things that you do to create art. So, and there's some things that we can do that are called bilateral techniques, where you help your brain cross hemispheres and synthesize a lot of information. So
what were some of the things you were talking in your article for Coping Magazine as far as how art is helping people to cope and how it can help people that are maybe watching this broadcast tonight? Like, how does it help with anxiety and depression? Like, what are those properties that art can help us with?
Well, in general, even if you're not doing art therapy with an art therapist in a session, something formal like that, doing art has a lot of soothing properties, meditative mindfulness kinds of properties. It helps people reduce their anxiety because it helps you focus on something else. I think coloring, for instance, has been very helpful for people to relax or go to sleep. And some people have used it as a ritual kind of thing to do before they go to bed, because instead of thinking about all these things I have to do for the next day or things I'm getting stressed out about, they can just focus on that, and it kind of helps dissipate intrusive thoughts or worrying thoughts, things like that, to help people sleep better, for instance. But it helps you be in the moment, helps you be present. That's one of the big effects that art can have.
Yeah, it really does. I really noticed it today when I was coloring that during the seminar I was in. I felt I was still able to concentrate on the meaning, but I felt very in the moment. The fact that it was a coloring book kind of took that pressure off of me, where I had to think, like, what am I going to create? I just had to pick a color. that I have my favorite color, so that wasn't very difficult, but it did make me feel mindful. In Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, we do something twice a year we call Happy Mail, where people send old-fashioned snail mail letters to each other. We consider that a real mindful activity because when you're writing a letter, it's very mindful. When you're receiving a letter, it's very mindful. And that's how I felt in coloring your book today. Also, it really was mindful. I know when we met a few weeks ago, we talked about, I told you we were doing this doodle challenge in our journaling club, and you were telling me, I don't know if you remember some of the things, your statistics and stuff you were telling me about doodle art. Do you remember what you shared with me?
Yeah, there's a study that I was reading about where they did a control study and a study with a control group and a research group. And what they did was they had each group listen to information that was told them over the phone. And the control group did not do any kind of doodling or writing down or anything during the phone call. They just listened to the phone call. The experimental group doodled while they listened to the information over the phone. Then they tested each of them after the phone call to see how much information they recalled accurately. And the group that doodled remembered 29% more information than the group that did not doodle. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. So some people, they think that doodling means you're not paying attention or you don't care, but actually doodling might be something that someone's doing to help them listen better, take in the information better, or pay better attention.
I swear, I don't know if it was in my head or not, but I felt like coloring during the seminar today made me retain more than, because a lot of times I am distracted when I'm on a meeting. I'm like maybe trying to do too many things at once, but here it was just the meeting, me listening and coloring. And I swear I held on to more. I really do feel that. So I believe that with doodling as well. We're doing a different doodle art every day, and then do a very simple step-by-step for people to put it in their journals or planners if they want to. And I had found this TED talk, I forget who did it, but she was talking about exactly what you just talked about how she actually read the dictionary definition of doodling, which was basically like doing nothing or something like that. And she talked about the memory retention and all that stuff, which I find super interesting. So I'm sorry you guys haven't gotten your comments. Before I go on to comments, I just want to give you guys a little info where you can reach Lacy. She's got some great stuff to share. Her website, arttherapist.blogspot.com. She's got a beautiful, beautiful website. On Facebook, you can find her at lacy.mucklow.art.therapy. And I wonder if I can share this now. Don't let me go too long without. I want to talk about your Kickstarter and your meditation music, because that's really important as well. You guys are going to love that. So let me get to some of your comments and questions, gang. Hello, I put up some of your highs. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. Hello, Mel Howard, Julia. Hello. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. Got a great crowd tonight. Searched art and gratitude. You guys were close, but the stalking was well, it was stalking because of those things. You're technically all right. Sandy, my niece is autistic and art is a regular part of her therapy. Awesome. Sandy is a super aunt to her niece. So she's practically her parent. So I was thinking about that when you were talking about how to grab your emotions and all that, and how you can do it through art. I don't know if it's the same in real life as it is on TV, but you see in a lot of crime shows when there's a child involved in the crime scene, they have them like draw things out. And I was wondering if that kind of accesses that side of the brain that you were talking about, or if it's just that it's.
Definitely. Because especially with children, if they're pre-verbal or, they're young, they don't have the words to describe maybe what they just saw in a crime scene, but they can draw what it looked like. Everybody stores their memories in pictures and images, if you think about it. When we think of a good memory, we don't think about it like a narrative in a book. We think of it, we replay it in our mind as an image. And we use our senses in our memories, and so the art is able to access that part a lot more easily than words and verbalizations only. That's why it works so well, say with trauma therapy or people who aren't verbal, and things like that.
It's just so interesting. You're right. I never thought about how we remember things, but you're right. It is in images. Sarah says, nice to meet you. Grateful tears. Hello, Sarah. Thanks for being here. Got a lot of people entering the contest. Don't forget, if you want to win the book, #gratitude. Make sure you spell it right. I have your book, Color Me Stress Free. Love it.
Great.
Yeah, her whole series are all just so beautiful. How did you talked about the images? Well, I want to talk about mandalas. I want to talk about so many things with you. You somewhere on your website you were talking about color. Like, first of all, how did you choose things to put in each book, in each category? Like, how did you choose images to go with gratitude, and how do you think art and gratitude go together?
Well, I think, for the book, for the chapters, I tried to find categories that encompass mostly what people are most grateful for in life. Thankful for health, thankful for the positive things and positive memories and family and things like that. So trying to not take things for granted and be able to focus on that which we're grateful for. Something I've done a lot of times with patients is doing a gratitude journal, especially for people who have a hard time with negativity, and it's just like everything's kind of crashing in and it's hard to see anything positive because the negative weighs so much more heavily on us than the positive does. I think there's a statistic somewhere out there that for every one negative thing, we need 10 positive things to outweigh it. So we really have to be conscientious about gratitude and finding the positives. And so when I have patients, clients do a gratitude journal, maybe start with 3 things, maybe expand to 5 or 10 later on, because sometimes it's hard just to find 1 or 2 or 3 things. But every day, write down something you're grateful for. And it could just be, when I drove to work and back, I made it in one piece, nothing happened, especially around where I live. You never know what's going to happen on your commute to work.
You're in the Washington, D.C. area,
I'm
right?
in the D.C. area, with lots of fun traffic. So, or, I had my favorite meal today, or, just anything. Just finding what kind of small things you're grateful for. It doesn't have to be the huge things. You can translate that to an art gratitude journal and draw about the things you're grateful for, or illustrate the things that you write down on your list or something like that. So it can translate well to art. Some people may prefer to draw about it.
Yeah, they do say we're wired for negative, and that's where attitude of gratitude with chronic pain is unique, and that most chronic pain groups, and all groups are very important. I'm not trying to knock anybody, but most groups, so you talk about your symptoms and your blood work and all that, and you can learn a whole lot. But when I started this group, I wasn't finding any place where I could feel uplifted. A lot of times I was leaving more depressed than when I went in, because I not only have my own problems, but I'm taking in everybody else's as well. So we do very intentional gratitude practices, and it takes work, because it's not always easy. Like you said, it's not always easy. We're wired to that negative, and you're right. If it's 10 things will like offset that one, and we can have 10 great things that happen during the day, right? But we're going to remember that one thing that maybe didn't go all that well. Right. So things like, like your books like this are really helpful tools for all of us, whether you live with chronic pain and illness or not. They're really helpful tools for all of us. Sarah's loving doodling. I'm so glad. When I listen to an audiobook in color, I listen better. Very interesting, Julia. I don't know if I got this from Isabel. Art distracts me from pain and anxiety. Totally agree.
Yeah. And I've had patients, even if we just work on a mandala in a session or even in a group, if I ask them, how did you feel when you came in versus how do they feel when they leave? Almost every time they're like, wow, I feel so much better. Wow. My anxiety is gone, or it went from a 9 to a 3 or something like that. I guess we can go into mandalas a little bit more. There's been more and more research with mandalas showing that creating mandalas or coloring mandalas, it kind of doesn't seem to make a difference which way you do it if you make your own color one that's already designed. But it has...
what I color today, that's considered a mandala, right?
That would be a mandala.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Just wanted to show it for anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, mandala is a circular drawing. It's
Okay.
been in the East and Native American cultures and things for years. Carl Jung is who made it more popular in the Western world. Yeah, yeah. He used them as I think he drew mandalas every day for himself, and he saw them as very introspective tools, and that people can have a lot of self-discovery doing their own mandala work. And then, like I told you, the Great Round Theory is really fascinating if you are able to learn about it. But they've done research with mandalas, making mandalas or coloring mandalas, and they found in general that they reduce anxiety and stress. They increase focus and concentration. And they even did one with, I think it was pediatric blood draws in a hospital, and their physiological pain dropped while they were coloring and getting their blood drawn.
Why is that? Is it the repetitiveness of it?
I think for one thing, you're focusing on something else instead of watching them, draw your blood, which is usually anxiety provoking with most people. But it gave them something else to do and focus on, and it's something more pleasant. And so
why mandalas in particular, though?
So I think especially when you're coloring them, they're usually geometric, and so they have a regular pattern that you can work with. But the circular shape they're finding is usually a very pleasing shape. It's not harsh. It doesn't have the corners on it like a square rectangle might. And it's a universal symbol. You see it everywhere. You see it in nature. It's all over the place, and it's kind of a soothing shape in and of itself. So I think, and if you're using a blank mandala, it just gives you a little something to start with instead of a complete blank page. And so that gives you something.
And when I was going to choose what I wanted to color today, I was drawn to this, and I didn't even realize why until you're just talking to me about it, because it was repetitive, and I knew I could pick a color and I could do the whole thing in that one color, and then the next thing in that color. It made it easier for me. I know I didn't even stop to think about that. A lot of these are beautiful and wonderful, but it would require more thought on my part. Oh, so interesting. Hadn't thought of it.
I'll actually show you. Mandala journaling is something that everybody can utilize. I do it regularly as groups and individually with clients, but I'm like, you don't have to do it just in a group with me. You can do it on your own. And so I recommend mandala journaling for people, and you can use it in different ways. You can, some people like to do it as a regular ritual kind of life or part of self-care, where they might do it, say, first thing in the morning to kind of get them started, or before they go to bed to help them sleep better. Some people like to use it when they need it. Like, boy, I had a really bad traffic jam on the way home. I need to relieve some stress, so I'll go work on a mandala for a little while. Just kind of get the stress out. Some people like to do it until they finish it. Some people like to do it in pieces, do a little bit at a time. Some people like to do time limits, like I'm going to work 15 minutes on this, and as far as I get is how far I get, and then if I don't finish, I can come back to it and do 15 minutes another time. So
do you have a suggestion, or is anything really?
I think it depends on the person and what works best for them. So there's no set way or formula that I think is best, but I think that people should be open and try different things and see what kind of resonates best with them. I'll show you. This is a mandala journal. Oops, there we go.
That's gorgeous.
It's handmade. It was made by one of my former art therapy interns that I had a few years ago.
Really?
And we did mandalas all the time. And so she made that as a parting gift for being her supervisor. And so she painted a mandala on the cover. And then it's really cool because she put a little pocket in the front, and there's a little mandala template.
How cool. I smell a journaling club challenge.
Yeah, and so since you have your ready-made template that you can start with, and this is a Zentangle, Zendala, they call them.
Oh, how cool.
And I'll talk about Zentangle in a minute.
Yeah.
But, you can do whatever you want. I do different things. I don't know if you can tell. This is colored pencil and watercolor. And some more colored pencils.
Beautiful.
And that's kind of.
Have you done a book on this, Lacy? I think you need to.
No, I haven't. I probably should. I've been doing mandalas for so long. So
what a great idea.
Yeah. Actually, I'll show you one. I didn't tell you about this. It's a little more personal if you don't mind.
No, of course not.
But I had thyroid cancer in 2016, 17. And I recovered. I'm fully recovered. But after that, I worked on, it's the thyroid cancer awareness ribbon that
Beautiful.
I put it into. And the butterfly is the symbol for the thyroid and everything. So I put that in a mandala just kind of after the surgery and everything to kind of process what that was.
I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, me too. Everything's great.
Good.
So yeah, it's a way to deal with what you're going through health-wise, ups and downs, and even just kind of the regular everyday kind of stuff. If you're having a bad day, just putting it in your mandala and not having to hold on to it.
And so when you say put it in your mandala, like you do the circle template, and then what? Where do you go from there?
Whatever comes up for you. It could just be, like if you're having a hard day and there's a color that kind of fits that, like puke green or something. You could just put that in your mandala and go from there. It can be abstract.
Sorry, delayed reaction, but I'm thinking, I have a lot of days I just feel like puke green.
Yeah, but that really embodies how you feel, and it's not so hard to do that. You can just use a color and then go from there. And most times things just kind of organically develop. And the thing is, you don't have to be an artist to be able to do it. It's for yourself, for your own either enjoyment or your own expression. And so you don't have to hold on to things. You put it into the mandala, you externalize it, and you put it there, and you can leave it there.
I love it. I love it. I know I shared with you before the broadcast, and I've shared in my group a few times that I've recently gotten back into watercolor. And although I don't consider myself artistic, I don't really do anything because I'm not artistic, but I like playing with color, like you just said. Today I just painted some circles of color and watched how they ran into each other. And I find it very soothing. I like the color mixes. I mean, it was just for me. Obviously, I'm not looking to post it anywhere or anything, but I don't know. For me, it's very satisfying color. I love bright colors. I like pastels and neons. You have any thoughts about, color? Like what colors generally make us happier? I think I read in your book, didn't I? That
I touched on that a little bit with color psychology. But and it does depend on the individual because everybody has their own color associations. But in general, warm colors have more energy to them. Cool colors have lower energy to them. So they kind of fit, whatever energy you're looking for to represent. If you're feeling low, you might use a cool color. If you're feeling energized, you might use a warm color. It really depends. But, it depends on your own associations, cultural associations, like red, for instance. A lot of times people associate anger with red or something, especially in America, I suppose. But say in China, red is a very happy, pleasant color. They use it for weddings and things like that. So it's a completely different connection. So there's no right or wrong way to do it. And it's whatever works for you and whatever you connect it with. One thing I do recommend for people, especially with their mandala making, is to write reflections about it, like on the back side of it or something to accompany it. What were you thinking or feeling when you were making it? What was the process like? Was it helpful? Was it soothing? Were you in the flow state? Whatever. Just kind of tracking where you were in that moment, because that's the nice thing about mandalas is it's something you can do to track over time, and you can look through. It's good to date them too, so when you did things. You can look at them over time, and you can see the ups and downs and, what you're going through within your artwork. It can be really, really fascinating and enlightening.
I love that. I really love this idea of the mandalas. We have not done that challenge before. We did do one on Zentangles, which you touched about. Do you want to talk just for anybody that doesn't know what a Zentangle is? They're really pretty cool. We've done a few challenges with them. But
Zentangles, I think, would be something that anybody can do that can help with, chronic illness or mindfulness. It was actually meant to be a mindful way of drawing for anybody to be able to do. It was created by a man who used to be a Buddhist monk. He was a Buddhist monk for 17 years, and a woman who is a calligrapher. And when he would see her doing her calligraphy work, he noticed, basically she was in a flow state while she was doing her work. And he would observe her, and he was like, that's a lot like what happened when we would purposely meditate. So they kind of thought, well, there's something to this, that while she's doing this art form, it's meditative the same way that we do active meditation. So they call it Zentangle, and it's based on, it's just based on patterns. Here's one book, I have several, the Zentangle source book. And they kind of walk you through Zentangles, and all the patterns have names to them. I think there's over 160 official name patterns now. And I think every pattern is pretty much no more than about 5 steps. And they go through it and show you how to do it step by step. I don't know if you can see it very well, but there's a lot of books on the market that you can look at. They have zentangle.com is their website if you want to check things out. But they started for the square originally. That's like the standard, whatever you want to call it, traditional Zentangle, a little card. And you start with the square, and then you make your tangle on the inside, which is a loose scribble, basically, that connects all the sides together somehow. And that separates your space. And then within each space, you draw different patterns from those options. You look at options, and people tend to favor some patterns over others. You learn how to draw them basically from memory, and then they become second nature, and that's how they become meditative, because then you're drawing things that you're familiar with, and you just decide how you want to do your patterns. So I'll show you a little bit this is at the first Zentangle training I went to. They gave us a little bag. Oh, yeah. And so they started you off like with a little starter kit. And
they have a ton of stuff at Michael's these days for Zentangles.
Yeah, now they're in the stores. You don't have to order, but they have an official little card, Zentangle card, and they're just blank square tiles. They have round ones now, so they call them Zendalas. Really? And I'm like, yeah. So I'm like,
they're on the mandala band.
Yeah, Zendalas. So they're on the mandala bandwagon too. So these were like the first couple that I made in trainings.
Beautiful. Very cool.
So, and they're all drawn with, they give you a technical pen. I use a pack of them with different sizes. So you can do some tight work or some larger fill-in work, because some of them you fill things in. And
they're typically black, right? They're not typically done in color.
Yeah, they're just done in black pen typically. I mean, the standard ones. You can do what they call Zentangle inspired art with things like cards and scrapbooks, and take it in a whole other realm if you want to. But I'm talking about just traditional kinds of Zentangles. And then they give you it's kind of like the golf pencils that have no erasers on them. And they do that intentionally, because using pen and a pencil without an eraser means you can't change anything that you've done. And
I forgot about that. I had heard that it's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. So it helps you with radical acceptance and dealing with if you make a mistake or did something you didn't want to do or whatever, just learning how to accept it. Maybe you can tweak it or do something with it or be creative with it and turn it into something else. But just accepting whatever happens. And if you make a mistake, it's okay.
Yeah, and that's hard. I know we talked about it before the broadcast about how a lot of times, as we all know, as children, you put some paints, so everything in supplies in front of us, and children just go to town. There's no fear there; they just dive right in, and then somewhere along the line, a lot of us, me included, lose that, and there's a fear that sets in, and then I get fearful of doing something wrong, like you said. How do we get over? Why do we get that, and how do we get over it?
Yeah, I think part of that is most people, I think I mentioned earlier, most people don't do art after elementary school, so they're not used to it. They're not engaged in it, and they kind of lose that muscle memory, I guess you could say, or that comfortability with doing art. And then I also think as we get into the formal operations stage and adolescence, and you get into that performance-based thing that's really pushed when you get in your older grades in school, everything's about, does it look good? Does it meet standards? Are you getting graded on it? All of those kind of things. And with something like art, you lose that wonder of just creating for the sake of creating. And so people are like, well, I don't like to be critiqued, so why would I even do this anymore? So, their interest goes elsewhere, or something that, helps them get ahead or whatever. And so art just kind of falls by the wayside. But I think people need to stay in touch with that part of themselves and do art for art's sake, and not worry about what it looks like or who's even looking at it, doing it for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling you also, like, what am I afraid of? It's not like I'm looking to sell my stuff. I'm not doing it for anybody else but me. And, I'm not sure where that fear set in with me. I'm glad I'm exploring it again now, but it feels really, really good. And, again, you and I were talking about before the broadcast, how they're cutting a lot of art and music out of school curriculum, which is such a shame. And we're raising, as adults, we are full of anxiety and stress, and we're raising young, stressed out kids with no release. And art, right? Art is such a release. I mean, you see patients, right? What kind of people come to you to get treatment?
Well, I work with military members, and from in the hospital that I work in, and then I do private practice also, and I work with all ages. So I work with usually tween through adulthood, but most times I get children and I get women, and those are the people who tend to come most often. Yeah, but it's really cool when the guys come and they're all for it, and they discover something that they never knew would work for them. If they just have a little bit of an open mind and give it a try, they're like, wow, I never knew this existed. I should have done this a long time ago. So it's great when anybody is open to giving it a try and discovering something new.
It's interesting too. In my group, it's getting to be a little more now, but our demographic breakdown has been 98% women. And I'm not sure why. We're starting to get some really good, strong member men in the group, which makes me super happy. And I'm not sure, do they think that gratitude is not manly? Do they not believe in it? I'm not really sure why that is. But like I said, it's starting to get more now, which makes me happy. But it really is a shame. I think a lot of men, never mind. I'm not going to say that. It's going to generalize what I'm not going to pretend I know what men think. But I'm very glad to see them exploring more into gratitude now. But the art thing doesn't surprise me either. It's men and women equally, we have emotional issues, anxiety, depression, that we need outlets like this for. I love the Zentangles. Somebody asked a question here that I wanted to get to. Lacy, do you have any thoughts on writing in a circular pattern?
I've had a couple of people do that, where they maybe were writers. That was more their outlet, because I've had some people who they're more into music or more into creative writing or something like that. So I understand they have a different outlet. And so they're like, can I write words? And I'm like, there's no rules for this. And, they would maybe write a poem or write something that was on their mind or whatever. And they would write it in a circle, kind of like in a spiral going down into the middle, or something around the borders or something like that. So I've had people do that, and it was effective for them. So I don't have an opinion either way, as long as it works for you. Yeah.
So it looks nice in a mandala too, right? Here's an idea for you, Lacy. So this is the universal symbol of gratitude. I don't know if you can see it. It's a spiral. You can make a mandala out of that. Gratitude mandala. Yeah.
And that's a stage 3 in the Great Round, just so you know.
What do you mean, stage 3 what?
On the Great Round of mandala theory that I had mentioned earlier, that was like a whole other ball game. Stage 3, one of the characteristics of that stage is the spiral, and that's the labyrinth. What they call the labyrinth is the name of the stage, which is just before the birth and new beginning stage. So,
oh really?
Yeah,
I have to look more into that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Here's a comment from Mel Howard. I find when I'm working at work drafting on CAD, I don't pay as much attention to my pain as when I'm unemployed. Interesting. Very, very insightful. What else we have here? Is Lavender Dreams available streaming? That's a good segue that I didn't plan. Yes. So tell us about Lavender Dreams. I'm going to find the link here, but you have a Kickstarter because you do mindfulness music as well, right?
Yes. I'm glad you brought up Lavender Dreams. Yes, it's streaming. It's on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Digital. I have it on my Bandcamp site if you want to stream it there. So that started in late 2017 and 2018. And I've been doing relaxation and as a part of mindfulness with my groups for a long, long time. I used to do relaxation only groups, and then it kind of ended up segueing into opening every art therapy group with a meditation. That was when I was working with adolescents and in a partial hospitalization program. And I think it was really helpful because I had group after their verbal process group. That could always bring up all kinds of things, lots of hard topics, maybe some triggers, something like that. And sometimes it was hard for them to transition over to art therapy. And so I found that starting off a group with a meditation was helpful to help them kind of reset, start fresh, and be able to enter the art therapy group in a different kind of space. So it actually started when I was doing an inpatient group. And there was one kid who was saying that he couldn't relax. He never could sleep. He was basically an insomniac, just ran on hardly any sleep at all. And when I said we're going to start with a meditation, he's like, well, I'm not going to fall asleep. And I'm like, that's okay. I'm not expecting you to fall asleep. Just listen, just enjoy it. Just visualize it. And it was probably a 5-minute meditation. And he fell asleep in those 4 or 5 minutes. He did. And I had to wake him up, to be able to do the rest of the group. And he was shocked when I woke him up. He was like, what just happened? I'm like, you fell asleep. And he's like, I don't fall asleep. And I was like, well, I guess it worked for you. And we were doing the art while they were making the art in the group. And I was kind of watching him and thinking about it. I was like, it would be really nice if I could have a resource for them to take with them after they leave treatment. They get this stuff while they're in a program or while they're an inpatient or whatever. But once I leave here, they might go to outpatient or something, but they're probably not going to get all of these different kinds of services that they get in a program. And it's something they can use at home. And I thought it would be really nice if I could have something legal and legitimate that I could give to them that's not somebody else's writing or other people's music and that kind of thing. So Facebook is a wonderful place for some things like this. And so I put out a little question if it was something, I had this thought to make my own relaxation album to give to clients. Should I even bother? And I have a lot of friends who are in the music business and art business and all kinds of things that I knew could help me make it work. And they all pretty much leapt and said, we'll help you. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So that was a sign that I should go for it. And so I wrote some original scripts. And then I had friends who played and composed original music to go with it. And it's mindful meditation. A lot of the first album, Lavender Dreams, focuses a lot on just things that most people find soothing, like the forest or the lake or the beach, things like that. I have a couple of things that are a little bit different, like I have a progressive muscle relaxation on there, to help go through and relax your muscles. And I have a calming color pathway, so that's a little bit different. And so anyway, that came out. A lot of people have really benefited from it, it seems like. And then people were like, well, when's the second one coming out? And I was like, I wasn't really planning on a second one, but several people were asking. And then I ended up writing more scripts for groups to kind of match what themes I was working with to help them into it, including one for mandalas, because some people didn't know where to start for mandalas. So I created one for the mandala group and things like that. And so channeled it into a second album, which is Kickstarter now to fund by September 1st so we can get it produced and out there to people.
Exciting. I just put the link in the comments. I will also put it in the YouTube video of the recording here for everybody. So you can find it on there. You can also find it on Lacy's website at arttherapist.blogspot.com. We do a lot of mindfulness in the group as well. I post just a short YouTube video each day, usually about 5 minutes or less, that I call breath breaks for people to just, because there's something about slowing ourselves down and just taking a couple, breaths that a lot of us just don't do, or we forget to do, or we realize we're not even taking really deep breaths. We're doing very shallow breaths. It's amazing how restorative they can really be. Shoot, we're actually at the hour, but real quickly, gang, I'll give you 2 more minutes to get in your entry. If you would like to win Be Grateful and Color, signed by Lacy, make sure you put in the comments #gratitude. So we talked about doodling, mandalas, Zentangles, collages. You also talk about collages. Can you talk about that real briefly?
Yeah. Well, let's see. I brought an example.
You're just a plethora of information. I need like 3 more hours with you.
I know, it's so easy to do. Yeah, collaging is a nice thing to do because you don't have to be an artist to be able to do that. You know, you just need some magazines and some scissors and some glue of some type, and just kind of find things that speak to you. I didn't even talk about soul collage, and that's another thing I could get off on. But just for now, we'll just talk about regular collaging. And
soul collaging, is that what you call it?
Soul collage, yeah. That was created by a social worker named Sina Frost, and it's geared more toward your inner self and looking at that for what's the right way to put it? Like exploring your inner self and parts. I don't know if you're familiar with like parts work and things like that, but we all have different parts and people that are kind of, we internalize, you know, and like Jungian archetypes, like mother figures, father figures, things like that. All these things that make up who we are. And when we do these collages, we have a set of questions with these cards that we make with collaging, and to find out what role it is in our life and what it represents, what it does for us, what we want from it, and if there's a shadow side to it, you know, that
you have to come back.
Yeah,
you have to come back into another hour on those because I want to talk about that.
So anyway, this is a sketchbook that I have. It's nice because of the it's got the ring, so you can make it flat. But there's like an example.
Oh, neat!
Just kind of piecing things together. Like I tend to theme my collages, you know, but it could just be with whatever you find. I think the best thing to do with collage work is when you go through magazines, just grab what speaks to you, and you don't necessarily have to think about it first. Just grab it, and then you'll figure it out later. And then you can just start arranging things on the page, things that you feel like go together, or if they represent something in particular. If you want to theme your collage, you can do that, or just these things are all the same color, so I'll put them all in a collage or whatever. There's no wrong way to do that either. You can tear, you can trim, however you want to do your images, and there's no wrong way to do it, and you don't have to have artistic talent, drawing skills, for instance, to be able to do it. So it's always successful.
All of these ideas are great, and you can do whether or not you're artistic. This has just been absolutely wonderful. And when you're just talking about collages and stuff, I was thinking vision boards are kind of a collage too, aren't they? Yeah, so you definitely have to come back, Lacy. You definitely have to come back. All right, let's get this contest going here. So to win, let's see if I can get this. Can we see this? Yes. All right, let's pick a name. Good luck, everybody. The winner is Linda Edwards. Linda's my senior moderator. Congratulations, Linda. I will have Lacy sign this for you, and we will get this to you ASAP. Thank you, everybody, for watching and for entering. And thank you, Lacy, for offering to sign that for us. Thank you so much for being here. I knew it was going to go fast. I didn't know it was going to go quite this fast. You really have such amazing things to share with us. I think no matter what your level of artistic talent is, and basically in a nutshell, art can just help us to deal with our emotions better, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Thank you. Again, if you want to find out more about Lacy, you can visit her on her Facebook page, Lacy Mucklow art therapy, and I'll put all these links in the video, and her beautiful website, arttherapist.blogspot.com. Lacy Mucklow, thank you so much for being here, my friend. It's been such a pleasure stalking you, meeting you, and talking to you. And we'll talk soon. Hopefully, get you on the show in the future.
That'd be great. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everybody, for watching live. And if you're watching us recorded, thank you as well. And I will see you guys. I think next week there's a new way you can actually air previously recorded shows. So I think I'm going to try to do a best of next week. But I'll be back in 2 weeks. So I will see you then. Take care, gang. Peace. and love. Bye.